A sexy, rich older woman hires a 20-year-old boy to enjoy herself with him in a hotel and gets her first orgasm. Stay tuned to watch the full video. The film opens in a quiet hotel room. A neatly dressed older woman, Nancy Stokes, sits on the edge of the bed. She's a retired religious education teacher, widowed, with an air of nervousness and restraint about her. The room itself feels sterile. Neutral walls, crisp sheets, a space designed for temporary meetings and departures. Nancy keeps glancing at the door, smoothing her clothes, adjusting her hair, trying to calm her racing heart. She is about to do something that feels both daring and terrifying. She has hired a young male sex worker, who goes by the name Leo Grande. A knock at the door makes her jump. She takes a deep breath and opens it. Standing there is Leo, smiling warmly. He's attractive, charming, and much younger than Nancy expected. He walks in with an easy confidence, dressed casually but neatly, exuding an energy of relaxation and openness. Nancy, in contrast, is visibly tense, talking quickly, and apologizing too much. From the very beginning, their differences are clear. Nancy has lived a structured, rule-abiding life. She was married to one man, her late husband, for decades, and though their relationship was stable, it lacked passion and sexual satisfaction. Leo, on the other hand, is comfortable with his body, his work, and with human intimacy. He moves around the room with no self-consciousness, while Nancy fidgets with her hands and stumbles over words. They sit across from each other, and Nancy begins peppering Leo with questions. She's curious, cautious, and almost defensive at times. She admits that she's never done anything like this before. In fact, she confesses something deeply personal. She has only ever had one sexual partner, her husband, and she has never experienced an orgasm in her life. Leo listens without judgment, smiling gently, making her feel safe enough to continue. He tells her that she deserves pleasure, and that she's brave for taking this step to explore it. Nancy, however, struggles to relax. She keeps putting up barriers, overthinking and making excuses. She says things like, "Maybe this was a mistake," or "I don't know if I can go through with this." Leo remains calm and kind, reassuring her. He tells her there is no pressure, no rush, and that they can take things at her pace. They begin to talk more deeply. Nancy reveals the guilt and shame she has carried all her life when it comes to sex. Being a religious education teacher, she always felt she had to uphold a sense of moral purity. She raised her children with rules and discipline, and though she loved her husband, their intimacy was limited, functional, and never about true pleasure. Now, as an older woman, she feels she has wasted her life sexually, never having explored what her body could feel, never having dared to step outside of duty. She even jokes bitterly that her husband had terrible technique, but beneath the humor is a deep sadness. Leo listens and occasionally shares small pieces of his own perspective. He doesn't try to fix her, but he validates her feelings. He explains that many of his clients are people like her, individuals who feel stuck, or repressed, or simply in need of something they've never had before. He says that his work is about giving people the freedom to explore themselves in a safe, non-judgmental space. Nancy seems surprised, even moved, by his perspective. She had assumed his life would be dark, dangerous, or degrading, but he speaks about his job with pride. Still, she can't stop asking personal questions. She wants to know how he got into this line of work, what his family thinks, what his real name is. Leo laughs and gently pushes back, reminding her that this is a professional arrangement, and that boundaries are important. He is happy to talk with her, but there are parts of his personal life that he won't share. Nancy struggles with that. She's used to categorizing people, placing them neatly into boxes, and she can't quite accept the ambiguity. Eventually, Leo suggests they try something small, something to ease her in. He encourages her to simply sit back, close her eyes, and breathe. He moves closer, places a hand gently on her shoulder, and asks if that's okay. Nancy nods nervously. The contact is electric for her, simple but intimate. She feels her defenses wavering. Slowly, Leo helps her step into the experience. He kisses her lightly, holds her hand, reassures her that she looks beautiful. Nancy protests at first, calling herself old and undesirable, but Leo insists otherwise. He points out the things he finds attractive about her: her elegance, her wit, her intelligence, her presence. For the first time, Nancy begins to believe him, or at least to allow herself the possibility of being seen as desirable. The tension builds as Nancy battles between desire and fear. She worries what her children would think if they knew, or what her late husband might say. She feels selfish, even sinful. But Leo gently dismantles those thoughts. He reminds her that she has given her whole life to others, and that there is nothing wrong with finally doing something for herself. His words disarm her. Eventually Nancy agrees to let go a little. They share their first real kiss, deeper and more passionate this time. The scene doesn't rush, it unfolds slowly, deliberately, as Nancy's rigid exterior begins to soften. She starts to laugh, then to sigh, then to relax into the moment. Nancy admits she feels alive in a way she hasn't in years. She even jokes that she might write a list of all the sexual acts she's never tried but wants to. Leo laughs and encourages her to do it, telling her that exploring desire is exciting at any age. The next time she enters the same hotel room, her energy is different. She's still nervous, of course, but there's also anticipation in her face. She carries with her a handwritten list, something she had mentioned jokingly before but is now taken seriously. When Leo arrives, cheerful and poised as always, Nancy shows him the list. She reads it out loud, one item after another: trying oral sex, different positions, having multiple rounds in one night, even attempting to be more adventurous and uninhibited. Leo listens with a smile, taking her curiosity in stride. He treats it not as something embarrassing, but as an honest roadmap for exploration. Nancy is a little sheepish, almost apologetic. But Leo reassures her again. Nothing about desire is wrong, and she has every right to discover these experiences. Their second encounter begins with her attempting to loosen up. Nancy struggles between overthinking and letting herself enjoy the moment. She comments on her body, on her age, criticizing herself in little ways. Leo counters each time with encouragement, reminding her that confidence and acceptance are more powerful than physical perfection. He encourages her to look at herself differently, to see her own beauty in ways she has ignored for decades. The dynamic between them deepens. What began as a purely transactional meeting starts to feel layered, almost like a friendship, though not quite, because Leo is careful to keep boundaries. Yet their conversations cut deeper each time. Nancy confides more about her late husband, about how unsatisfying their intimacy always was, and how she never dared to demand more. She admits that she spent most of her life teaching others about morality and discipline, while secretly denying herself basic pleasure. Her voice is tinged with both regret and determination. As the encounter continues, Nancy experiments with her list, ticking off small goals, feeling both nervous and excited as she goes along. At one point, she bursts out laughing, overwhelmed by the absurdity of her situation. A retired teacher with a list of sex acts, nervously working through them with a man half her age. Leo laughs with her, not mocking, but celebrating her courage. That laughter breaks some of the heaviness, allowing Nancy to relax further. When their time together ends, Nancy again looks transformed. She admits she never thought she could feel this alive. She thanks Leo with genuine warmth, her gratitude spilling into every word. He responds with professional kindness but also with real sincerity. He's glad she's allowing herself to grow. The third meeting, however, shifts the mood. When Leo arrives, Nancy is different. There's tension in her tone, an edge of confrontation. She has been doing research, thinking too much, and crossing the line into judgment. She begins probing into Leo's personal life again, pressing him for details he doesn't want to give. She questions his choices, asking about his family, whether they know what he does, whether he feels ashamed. Leo remains calm at first, deflecting politely, but Nancy pushes harder. Finally, she crosses a boundary. She reveals she has discovered his real name and background, something she pieced together by searching online. She even mentions that she knows where his mother works. Leo's demeanor changes instantly. His easy charm hardens into quiet anger. He tells her firmly that she has violated his privacy, that she had no right to dig into his life outside their arrangement. For him, boundaries are crucial, and Nancy has broken that trust. The tension fills the room. Nancy, defensive, argues that she was just curious, that she wanted to understand him more deeply. But Leo insists, this isn't about her curiosity, it's about his right to keep his personal life separate. He explains, with more sharpness than before, that his work is valid, that he doesn't need her judgment or pity. For the first time, Nancy sees him not just as a service provider or a figure of fascination, but as a person with his own pain, his own choices, his own dignity. The confrontation shakes her. She realizes she has been selfish, treating Leo like a project rather than respecting his humanity. Their meeting ends abruptly, both unsettled. Nancy leaves with a mix of shame and disappointment, unsure if she has ruined everything. But the story isn't over. After some time, Nancy books him again. She waits in the hotel room, her nerves sharper than ever, unsure if he will even show. When Leo enters, the tension is still present, but this time Nancy is different. She admits she was wrong. She apologizes sincerely, acknowledging that she crossed a line and disrespected his boundaries. She confesses that part of her behavior came from insecurity. She envied his freedom, his confidence, his ability to live without shame. She, on the other hand, has been shackled her whole life by rules and expectations. Leo listens quietly. He doesn't let her off the hook easily. But he also doesn't shut her out completely. He admits that his life isn't as simple as he presents. His work has challenges, his family doesn't accept what he does, and he has carried pain because of it. But he also insists that this doesn't make his work any less valid. He chooses it, and he finds meaning in it. That honesty, mixed with vulnerability, allows a new understanding to form between them. Their final encounter becomes the most transformative. Nancy is no longer focused on her list, or on her insecurities. Instead, she surrenders to the experience, letting herself truly live in the moment. She allows herself to feel pleasure without apology. For the first time, she experiences a genuine orgasm, something she never believed possible for her. The scene is tender, not sensational, a quiet victory of self-discovery, captured in her expressions and the relief in her breath. Afterwards, Nancy glows with a new sense of self. She laughs, she relaxes, she speaks without the same nervous edge. She thanks Leo, not just for the physical experience, but for opening a door she thought was forever closed. She tells him she feels like a new woman, free in a way she never imagined at her age. Leo smiles, proud of her but also respectful of what this means for her life. Before he leaves, their conversation softens. There is no pretense now, no judgment, only mutual respect. Nancy tells him she doesn't regret any of this. Leo wishes her well, his tone warm and sincere. They part not as client and worker, but as two people who have shared something meaningful. The final scene belongs to Nancy alone. She stands in front of the hotel room mirror, completely naked, looking at her body with new eyes. For years she saw flaws, shame, and disappointment in that reflection. But now, she sees herself differently. She smiles, runs her hands gently over her skin, and admires herself without judgment. For the first time in her long life, she feels beautiful, desirable, and free. The film ends not with a dramatic twist, but with that quiet, powerful image of Nancy embracing herself, her body, her pleasure, her humanity. It's a simple ending, but it resonates deeply, completing the journey of a woman who dared, late in life, to seek something she had been denied, not just sexual satisfaction, but acceptance of herself.